Today's video is going to be on the little things that add up to big things, especially over a lifetime. It's kind of like even lifting weights. If you're lifting weights, because I've been lifting, I've been lifting for a while, not that it shows, but for the last, you add up how many, if you're lifting 3 times a week and you're doing 3 sets of benches, right? And you're doing 12 reps. So it's 12, 10, and 8. That's 28. 28 times 3 is like, let's just do whatever, 22 times 3, it's like 85. And you multiply it by every week eventually, and then multiply that over a few years. It's unbelievable amount of times you've lifted the bar. So money is the same way. So much of it is just in those little things that we do. And I know there's a balance between being like crazy frugal where you don't live your life, but there's that other balance too where you can give up really simple things and you don't realize that over the duration of 25 years what that adds up to be. So I was out mowing the lawn the other day, um, and I just was sitting there mowing, doing my thing. I thought, that'd be really interesting to do a quick financial analysis on what are some little things that I do that we've done over the last 25 years. Mainly, I was thinking kind of since we own the house, and how much does that actually add up to over a 25-year period? So I put some together. So you'll see here the first thing, because that was what I was doing, was landscaping. So landscaping typically, and this doesn't even include leaf collection. So if you add leaf collection to this, it's probably at least another $400 a year, because I clean up all my own leaves and stuff like that because we have tons of trees. So if you look at this, this is 25 years we've owned the house, right? 25 years, that's here, times the number of times I do it, and it's weekly. So that means what we do is 3 months out of the year, people use it. Typically, June, July, August is when you're tending to use that. So that means once a year. That means 25 years times 12 times a year times the amount, which is $40. And that could even be low. That's a pretty good deal if you get $40. So that's 12 grand. Then you have coffee. So coffee is like, hey, over 25 years, if you're not drinking coffee or you're making your coffee at home instead of drinking it at Starbucks, how much are you saving? I'm putting a meager $3. So if you look at that formula, it's 1,200 weeks times 3 times a week. So I'm just assuming you get coffee 3 times a week, and you're saving $3 a purchase by doing it at home. Now, I don't drink coffee. It just was nothing I ever got into. So I could probably make that number even more because I don't drink coffee. So that's almost 11 grand. We got takeout versus going out. I have six kids. I have 4 kids. So clearly you can see the difference between we'll order out Chinese. It typically would cost me $50, maybe $50, $60 to do Chinese because we're not ordering drinks. We're not tipping, because we're doing takeout. We're eating at home. And I'm not saying we did this to be cheap. We tended to want to do this. My kids didn't like to wait in line and stuff, but it was kind of brutal because when you have 4 kids, like going out to a restaurant could cost you easy $100. So we tended to do takeout. When the kids got older, it was kind of more of a conscious effort to do take home. We would eat at the dinner table or whatever. We do the takeout because it was just getting ridiculously expensive. So I'm just going to say you save $40 a shot. So if you look at this formula, it's basically once a week times $40 over 25 years. So that's 48 grand. Here's another big one, reasonable vacation. So we go down to Wildwood, New Jersey, which is great. It's like 3 hours away, no flights. We love the beach. The kids never considered this a sacrifice. We go down with like 45 people, mainly family. And it's just a wonderful time. We have a great time. So they never really looked at it that way. Recently, in the last like 5-6 years, we went to Rome and Switzerland. I took the 4 of them, and we went to Ireland. And those trips were very expensive. So I'm not using those trips as my benchmark, but even a domestic in the United States trip, or even to Jamaica or something like that, I got to get flights for 6 people, I'm feeding them breakfast, feeding them lunch, I'm feeding them dinner. Maybe the hotel comes with a breakfast, something like that. But it gets very expensive. And I even found when we went overseas, it was costing me a fortune. Those vacations were really expensive. So I'm going to say that it saves about 3 grand a year because it costs me about 3 grand, maybe 3,200 bucks to go down to Wildwood. Because we don't really want to go out for breakfast. We don't usually go out for lunch. Because we'll bring stuff down in a cooler and then put it in the fridge when we get to our efficiency in Wildwood. But I'm just going to conservatively say, which I think is probably an accurate number, that we save about 3 grand a year on that. So that's 25 years. At 3 grand a year, that's 75,000. I'm not even counting used cars versus new. I don't know how to calculate that interest and stuff. We've always tended to pay for our cars. We financed a couple of them. And now as I've gotten older, I hate used cars. I prefer new cars. But when we buy our next car, I'll probably buy like a 2-year-old car. Paying off the house early. So we for like 3-4 years, we paid our house like 4 or 5 years off early. I don't remember at what point I started putting down, like, I think it was like it's either 800 or 900 a month extra, but it probably saved us 5,000 interest. So I just put down 5,000. There's no formula there. Paying your own property taxes and not having an escrow. So what that does, especially in Jersey, it's probably not as big an issue in other states, but in Jersey, when your taxes are like, $1,000 a month, that's 3,000 bucks that's always out. It's always sitting in somebody else's bank account. So I'm just going to say over 25 years, we probably save 5 grand in total, because that money was that we would keep that money. And then once a quarter, we would go down and, we just write a check out to the town. Library books versus buying books. This is, I don't know. I don't know if this is a big thing or not. My kids would come home, I'm not exaggerating, with stacks of books. And they would just read them like crazy. And to this day, my wife and I, we go to the library, we get books. And a book, even though it's worth the money, I mean, I'm sure the town's paying for it, or the state or someone, probably the town, is paying for those books. So we're still getting used, we're still contributing to authors. But I mean, I put in for this formula, I put in the number of months times 5. So I'm just saying 5 a month, that we would get like $5, 5 books a month. Now that's a lot. Maybe with my family of 6, that was a prime thing. I mean, during their prime, 5 books a month wasn't even an issue. When they were in their teens, they could read a lot. So I'm just gonna say, I mean, and it's saving $8. That's a pretty low amount. But instead of buying books, you're getting them free at the library. So that's 12 grand, which is pretty conservative. If you've seen how many books my kids have read, I've definitely saved that. And then this is a big one: bringing lunch to work instead of buying. And a lot of these are a pain, right? Because do you feel is it easier, especially now? Is it easier to go onto Amazon and just buy the book and have it delivered, or get in the car, drive to the library, look through the books you want? Oh, that book's checked out. Let's get another one. So some of this is some effort. This is one too. Bringing lunch, like preparing your lunch the night before, is kind of a sacrifice. So I did this all 25 years. A lot of my friends and stuff would buy lunch. So I put this in as, I would buy lunch once a week. So if you look at this is 1,200 weeks, 4 times a week. And I'm just putting in that you're saving $10 because lunch for me, it was in the city. So it was like $10 on average, sometimes more, sometimes less. So that's $48,000. So the interesting part of this study though, is we don't think of things in long term. Like doing a small thing for a long time is a big deal. Whether that's your health, whether that's your money, whether that's your reading, whether that's looking for interesting articles, whether that's sitting on your phone and looking at stupid TikTok things all the time. You don't realize how much these little things over a large time frame of years adds up. So if I add all this up, you'll see I get 215,000. So what I did is I divided the 215,000 by years. And I said, well, how many, by 25, how much is this per year? And then I said, I'm not saying I did this, but I will tell you this: doing these things enabled me to max out my 401k, for my wife to max out her 401k, to pay the mortgage early, to a lot of things that we did. You know, a lot of the little steps we made now or made then contributed to the big step of retirement now. So what I did is I went to NerdWallet and I just put in this simple investment uh, in thing, and I said it was a $50 balance, which is not a big deal. Over 25 years, 6%, massively conservative. If you put this money into the S&P 500, I guarantee you it'll be a lot more than this. How often do you put it in annually? What's the amount of or how often do you calculate the interest annually? How much are you putting in? 8,632, which is this number divided by. So if I'm saving this much roughly every single year, and putting that into the market, and then when do I put it in? Reoccurring invest annually. And you'll see we come up with $473,000 in the end. So you almost doubled your money. But my point is, people don't, and I'm not saying everyone, especially if you're watching this channel, it's these little things. It's like doing these little things can make a huge difference long run. I am telling my kids to max out their 401ks, max out their Roth 401ks, because doing that now over, time is on their side. Time is not on my side anymore. Like doing these little changes doesn't move the needle that much because, I'm fairly far along in life. So just thought this would be a fun video for those of you who are doing those little steps. It pays off. Go for it. I actually think that's part of the problem with even some of this next generation is they don't think of it as a bunch of little steps that over time pay off. They'll watch a YouTube channel on how to get rich quick, or they'll go through Instagram or TikTok and see some stupid influencer saying how you can make a gajillion dollars on some silly life hack, when really there's no short ways. Time, consistency, and I guess that's investing too, right? Um, Investing small amounts over large periods of time brings us great results. So dollar cost averaging, that's what I'm saying. That's the definition of dollar cost averaging over time. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you're having a great day. Talk to you later.